Part 39. First Marriage Then Love, Mr. Mayor Please Be Kind. Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 397. The second update arrives. Nuan has been too diligent these few days. Please subscribe to the genuine version. Let us continue to be diligent. Second uncle and second aunt are here? Chuxia, come in and get warm. As if nothing happened in the morning, Lu Miking greeted her warmly from the main room. Reaching out without hitting the smiling person, Zhao Yulan nodded at her, and said politely, "You don't need to be so polite with us." There was still a word left behind, who didn't know who. I lived in the East and West House for several years, and I needed to dress up. Zheng Sanqiao stood at the gate of enlightenment with Xuan'er in his arms, and waved Xuan'er's little hand with a smile. "Bao look who is here. Is it the second grandpa, the second grandma, and the little aunt?" The grandma and the little aunt laughed, and the little aunt gave Xuan'er candy. In the child's heart, the world is bigger than the earth, and when he heard that there was something to eat, he grinned and let out a mouthful of 6 small teeth. Chuxia happened to have toffee in his pocket, so he took out a piece, peeled it off and put it in Xuan'er's mouth, poking Xuan'er's tender cheek with his hand while smiling. Zheng Sanqiao hurriedly said, "Little aunt gave Xuan'er some candy. Little aunt is the closest to Xuan'er. Will Xuan'er want to kiss little aunt when he grows up?" Zhao Yulan and Lin Baohe looked at each other and sighed secretly. Obviously, Zheng Sanqiao was using this method to reconcile with them. "Sister-in-law, are father and mother here?" Zhao Yulan asked. "I'm here." Seeing that Zhao Yulan was willing to talk to her, Zheng Sanqiao narrowed his eyes happily. "The old couple are waiting for dinner. Let's eat together." Lu Miking quickly answered, "I'm making pork stew Chinese cabbage that the old couple loves to eat, and the sanhe noodles pancakes." "Second uncle, second aunt. Xia, why don't you stay and eat together?" Zhao Yulan refused. "No need, Gang Shun's family has done our part." There was a trace of disappointment in Zheng Sanqiao and Lu Miking's eyes, and a hint of annoyance. This Luo Gang Shun family is simply their nemesis. Lin Baohe nodded at his mother-in-law and daughter-in-law, and took the lead into the west room where Mrs. Lin lived. Chuxia gave Xuan'er a few pieces of candy before following him in. The door closed with a bang, and Zheng Sanqiao and Lu Miking looked at each other. After all, they didn't stick it to the door, they were afraid of being caught by Chuxia again. This little girl is not the same as before. Mr. Lin and Mrs. Lin sat on the east end of the Kong, and the other sat on the west end of the Kong. Mr. Lin was carrying a dry pipe and smoked clicking without even lifting his eyelids. With peanuts. It seems that they didn't realize that there was anyone in the house. Lin Baohe stared fixedly at the two old people sitting on the Kong. The expression in the eyes is mixed with pain and disappointment. How can there be such a person in the world? Finally, unable to bear it any longer, Mr. Lin said, "Speak up if you have something to say, and fart if you have something to say. Don't come in and stand up for dead bodies, we don't care about it." "Give me my parents' things," Lin Baohe said. "What?" Mrs. Lin raised her head sharply. Staring at Lin Baohe with wrinkled eyes, "What did you just say?" "Give my parents' things. Give them to me," Lin Baohe said almost word by word. "I already know. My parents died to save your children, and you replaced them with me. Your children have taken things from my parents, and now I ask you to give them back to me." "Ha ha." Mrs. Lin looked at old man Lin, who was hanging his head down and couldn't see his expression. "Did you hear that? Your son said that we are not his real parents, and even came to ask us for things. Ha ha ha. Ka ka ka." Putting the dry pipe on the edge of the Kong and knocking, Mr. Lin raised his head and stared at Lin Baohe expressionlessly. "Who told you nonsense and made you come back and go crazy with us? You can make it up, and the way you make it up looks good. You grew up in this family, and you asked your uncle de gang yourself. What is the conclusion that you forgot? Your mother and I are not as warm to you as we are to your elder brother and third brother, but why are we not warm to you? You are not as good as Bao Zhang in terms of ability, you are not as good as Bao Hai in terms of sweetness, you are not as good as Bao Wan in terms of sensibility, how can we hurt you? If you had married the daughter of the Pang family back then, what kind of life would you be living now? A few days ago when your second grandma went back to her natal home, she also met the daughter of the old Pang family who returned to her natal home. Who would not be envious of their ostentation on those days? Of course, what parents are envious of is not how many things they have, what parents are envious of is that their good life should be yours, but you have to insist on it. You don't know for your own good, can we not be angry? Now you are fine, I don't know who heard the crazy talk, and even said that we are not your real parents, just because you think your mother and I don't understand? Aren't you just living a good life now, afraid that we will gain fame, and you don't want to be filial to us, and you are afraid that people will say bad things, so you think of a way to break off contact with us? Bao He, you must have a conscience in life, even if your parents are warmer to your brother and sister than to you, they will still raise you up and marry you into a daughter-in-law. Now that your wings are hardened, you just want to shake off your parents. Are you not afraid of retribution, and you will be struck by lightning? Ah! You touched your heart and told me, are you guilty or not? I would like to ask you, are you guilty or not? My parents died to save your children, are you guilty or not? You know how you have treated me these years. Since you were young, have you been just not warm to me? Don't you know what kind of temper you are talking about, the daughter of the Pang family? Yulan married and wholeheartedly treats you well, but what about you? How is her body so ruined? How much has she suffered for this family all these years? But as long as you have long-term eyes and hearts, you can't use the current rhetoric. I don't care if you don't kiss me or not, but I firmly refuse to agree to the fact that you want to hold back Chu Xia. Originally, I didn't want to make it clear that you forced me. If father and mother do not admit it clearly, I will report the case now, and what will happen when it is found out, you can think about it for yourself. Ms. Lin curled her lips in disdain. Stop fooling people, do you really think our old couple are fools? It's been almost 40 years, who cares about this endless case? Chu Xia gave her a faint smile. I don't need you to worry about it, there are my in-laws. No matter how long your in-laws' arms are, they won't be able to reach this side. Besides, if your in-laws were really capable, they could have been put in prison a few days ago. It doesn't matter whether you can get it or not, anyway, you have now admitted that my father is not your son. Chu Xia spread his hands. You can't be too wicked, my grandpa and my grandma will bless us in the underground, if you don't take out their relics, I guarantee you will regret it. Ha ha. Ms. Lin laughed disdainfully, but she stopped laughing after being glared at by Mr. Lin, and rolled her eyes at Lin Baohe and Zhao Yulan. Wolf-hearted bastard, if I had known, I would have thrown you into the pack of wolves. Li, I won't make you angry at me. The door was pushed open abruptly, and Zhang Qi and Ma Chao walked in. Who are you? What are you doing? Mr. Zhao stared at the two uninvited guests who suddenly barged in, with a look of wariness on his face. The two of them each took out a little red notebook and said to the old man and the old lady, we suspect that you once harbored counter-revolutionaries, please assist us in the investigation. Old man Lin pointed at Lin Baohe angrily, you want to scare me away with these two people? You think I, old Lin, are a frightened fool? I want to sue you and take you to prison. Old man. Zhang Qi smiled and pressed his shoulder, don't get excited, we will sue you for framing, huh? He handed the certificate to the old man, take a good look to see if it is fake, but you are not sure it doesn't matter, once we find out, we will directly drag you old couple to the Public Security Bureau, and you will know whether it is true or not. Zhang Qi, Deputy Director of the 1st Division of the National Security Council of China, next to Zhang Qi's photo. Mr. Lin looked Zhang Qi up and down, and made sure that the person above was the one standing in front of him. Ma Chao also handed over his ID, check it to see if it's fake. Ma Chao, Deputy Director of the First Division of the National Security Council of China, next to a photo of Ma Chao. This, too, is not fake. He's just an old man from the countryside. How can he go any further with this attitude? Zheng Sanqiao and Lu Miking both heard the voices of several people inside, and now Lin Beijiang was also found. He had already heard Zheng Sanqiao describe the general situation to him, so he understood that the second brother's family made it clear that they wanted to break away from the Lin family. And the point is, what happened to MRS Lin and MRS Lin did not stand up to scrutiny back then. Thinking about what they did to their second brother since they were young, it doesn't sound surprising at all today. What he is most afraid of now is that the second brother will hold on to the things of the past and implicate them all. Therefore, while the old man and the old lady were opening the box to find things, he leaned over to Lin Baohe and gently pulled him. Pull each other's sleeves. What's the matter? Lin Baohe didn't agree with him, so he asked directly. I just don't believe it. Lin Beijiang had no choice but to say this. They've all admitted it, what else do you not believe? Lin Baohe glanced at him lightly. Don't worry, I just want to return my parents' things, and I don't intend to sue them for murder, and I won't implicate you. Being told about the central matter, Lin Beijiang was a little embarrassed. I didn't mean that, I just thought that our brothers for so many years, so, hey. The reluctance of the crocodile. Seeing Lin Beijiang's forced sadness, Chu Xia suddenly had such a thought in his heart. A bundle wrapped in red velvet cloth with gold thread was taken out from under the box, and everyone's eyes were instantly attracted to it. First marriage then love, Mr. Mayor please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 398. It's 3 o'clock. A pair of sterling silver chopsticks engraved with exquisite patterns, a scarlet-purple bracelet, and a gold ingot, these three things were in the spread-out package. Lin Baohe picked it up and rubbed it tremblingly, not because of the preciousness of the item, but because of the touch of his parents on it. Zhang Qi looked at old lady Lin with a half-smile. Which pieces did you sell, tell me? That's all. As soon as I heard the creaking sound, I knew that there must be more than these. These few pieces were left behind, probably because they were not easy to sell, otherwise, there might be nothing left. If you tell the truth, because of your age, you might be able to avoid jail time. If you continue to be a diehard, don't blame us for not respecting the elderly enough, Zhang Qi said, rolling up his sleeves. MRS Lin moved back unconsciously. I'm quite old and killed, you have to be arrested too. Old lady, do you think we are local hooligans? Beat people casually, Zhang Qi smiled and shook his head. Your Kong is too hot, I just can't get used to it, it seems to scare you. But old lady, from this point of view, you should have done a lot of immoral things, otherwise, how could you be so guilty, right? How about this, you tell us the situation of that couple right now, as for whether you are murderers, we can only draw conclusions after we investigate. However, if you don't know what to say right now, well, then. I can't guarantee what the end result will be. Lin Baohe handed the things to Zhao Yulan. His gaze also turned to MRS Lin. MRS Lin, what exactly do my parents do? Where did they come from? How did they meet you? At this point, Mr. Lin didn't take any chances. He had already seen that Lin Baohe had come prepared. Although he still had some doubts about the identities of these two men, he absolutely believed that if he didn't cooperate, they might arrest him. When autumn was about to enter winter that year, the second child got pneumonia. Your mother and I carried him to the old Wangtu's house in the leader's village to grab medicine. When we came back, we met a devil, and your mother and I were frightened. He ran desperately to the village. Running too fast, a broken stone tripped your mother, and the child in her hand flew into the river. Neither your mother nor I know how to swim, and I was thinking about finding a branch for your mother to drag me down when the river. A couple in their mid-20s also ran over with their children in their arms. Originally, they had already run over. But seeing how anxious your mother and I were, we turned back. The man handed the burden to the woman and jumped into the river. After a while, the man cramped and sank while carrying the second child upstream, and the woman took the child. That is, you give it to your mother and jump into the water. As a result, after she went down, she never showed up again. Your mother and I dragged the rope down to look for it for a long time, but we couldn't find it. At that time, your mother and I were in a mess. The child was not rescued, and 2 people died. What's the matter? I admit that after we unpacked our burdens, we became greedy. Later, when we asked the villagers to help find people, we said that the child that fell was the couple's child. You and our second child should be about the same age, that is, 8 months old. There are many children, and no one pays attention to other people's children. After all these years, no one doubted what it looked like. Originally, there were some scraps of gold, scraps of silver, and some women's earrings and rings in the package. Those things were easy to exchange, so your mother exchanged them for the things used at home bit by bit. We dare not take out the rest of these things, for fear of causing trouble, and later, when the world changes, we dare not take them out even more. Where the couple came from and what their name was, we really don't know. However, looking at their clothes and what they bring, it is specified that they are not children from small families. Having said all this, there is no use other than to show how ruthless and greedy old man Lin and Mrs. Lin are. Lin Baohe's eyes were full of disappointment. You lied to me. The Public Security Bureau won't arrest us. At this moment, old man Lin also suddenly realized that his incident happened before liberation. How could the Public Security Bureau investigate the matter before liberation? Do you think we can't care about things before liberation? What happened before liberation, isn't it also a matter of China? Zhang Qi snorted coldly. How can you be so confident after doing such a heartless thing? We didn't harm anyone. We raised the children for them. Besides, we didn't ask them to save people. They jumped down in a hurry. If it weren't for them, our second child might still die. No more, Mrs. Lin said confidently. Are you human? Lin Baohe stared at her with crimson eyes. Are you popular? You can say such a thing. Forget it. From now on, I will not owe each other to you. After finishing speaking, with a heavy sigh, he turned and walked out. Chu Xia hurriedly dragged Zhao Yulan to follow. Of course, they did not forget to bring their baggage. Chu Xia took a closer look at the things inside just now, and the pair of chopsticks had Lin engraved on them. I believe that Mrs. Lin, did not have the ability to engrave this word on it. That is to say, it is possible that her father's own father also the surname is Lin. At least this guarantees that they are not wrong. Gold ingots, except for the larger ones, have no other special marks. That bracelet is also a rare item, and the material should be jade. However, this is the first time she has seen this blood-red jade. In other words, although there is no imprint on this bracelet, if the owner sees it, he will definitely recognize it. This is a chance anyway. On the way back, she told Lin Baohe what she thought of in detail. Sure enough, after she finished talking, Lin Baohe's complexion was obviously better than before. Although I haven't met your grandparents, I still feel uncomfortable knowing that they died for no reason. With a long sigh, Lin Baohe touched his daughter's head. When Xiaomi comes back, you can talk to him about it. He has contacted a lot of people, maybe he will have some clues at some point. Father, I'll tell him. Otherwise, I'll go back and talk to my parents-in-law first. Maybe they can know something. Let's wait for Xiaomi to come back. You have just married not long ago, and you have already troubled your in-laws' family enough. They don't care about it? Let's think it through and stop being as careful as before. However, we can't be particular about it. Nothing. Father, we should pay attention to other things as well. This matter is related to father's life experience, so don't pay attention to it, and you don't need to ask them to inquire about it. Just pay attention when you hear someone talking about this kind of thing. Moreover, it is possible that they already knew about this. Wouldn't that kill two birds with one stone? Dad, don't you want to find your roots earlier? Lin Baohe was obviously moved, but he still looked hesitant, so Zhao Yulan persuaded, listen to the child, we already know about this matter, so it's sooner rather than later. Then tell me, what's the point of us going back to this village? Lin Baohe said in pain, what's the point of buying this house after all this trouble? Dad and mother are not in Dalan village, so this is not your home. Zhao Yulan glared at him, those two treat you badly, but the people in this village treat you well, right? Besides, even if you have found the root, can you really forget about Dalan village? Grandpa Dagong, Gangshun, Jiangxin, Lu Bao, you don't associate with these people anymore. Lin Baohe drooped his head and remained silent. I know you won't be able to pass the hurdle in your heart for a while, and you don't know how to deal with that old couple in the future, as well as your elder brother and third younger brother. There is nothing difficult in the world, listen to me, let's live as we want, the difference is that we are missing a parent who doesn't treat us as human beings. This is just right, from now on the two of us will focus on working for our daughter, and we don't have to worry about what those people think about our daughter, don't you think? Yeah, Lin Baohe responded, forced a smile at his wife and daughter, I see, I'm fine, you two don't worry. Chu Xia took Lin Baohe's big hand and rubbed it on her cheek, Father, no matter what time it is, Mother and I will be by Dad's side to accompany Dad. The family chattered and went home, took a rest, and then went to Luo Gangshun's house. I was thinking about asking Xiaoxian to call you. The meal is ready. Seeing a family of 3 come in, the fat ant said while uncovering the pot and picking up steamed buns. The freshly steamed buns are white and soft, steaming hot, which makes people appetite. Luo Xiaoxian couldn't wait to grab one and stuffed it into her mouth, jumping her feet because of the heat. Nothing, the fat ant gave her a white look, and handed her the bamboo basket, bring it in. Then she moved her head to Zhao Yulan, seeing Baohe's appearance is not happy, what happened? On the way back I seeing that his face is not right, I am not ashamed to ask in front of Xiaojing, what happened? I'll tell you after dinner. Hey, Zhao Yulan sighed heavily, things that I thought were wrong before, today I finally understand what's going on. The fat ant just glared at her, I will say it, you hang me like this, like a cat scratching your heart, how can I eat? This matter is not behind your family's back, so let's talk about it while eating. I will tell you about it, and I have to talk about it again when I go in. Zhao Yulan opened the curtain and entered the room while talking, and the fat ant had no choice but to follow. Went in. The dishes were all fried and served on the table. Jingjie and Luo Gangshun also put away the chessboard, and when everyone was sitting at the table, fat ant couldn't wait to push Zhao Yulan, hurry up and talk. What? Luo Gangshun asked in bewilderment. I'm not the real son of the old couple. Lin Baohe's expression was as indifferent as if he said, what did I have for lunch today? But the expressions of the 3 members of Luo's family were not indifferent. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. First marriage then love, Mr. Mayor please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan Nuan. Chapter 399. One more. Baohe, you mean that Lin Shu and Aunt Lin are not your real parents? Luo Gangshun asked stammeringly after being stunned for a while. Lin Baohe nodded, yes. Impossible. Luo Gangshun scratched his head with a puzzled expression on his face. Didn't you suspect it before, and did you secretly check it? The midwives said you were their real son. Why did you suddenly not belong to them, kissing your son? Bao He, where did you hear that? What Bao Juan said, I asked them, and they admitted. Lin Bao He recounted his real-life experience in detail. It's shameless. The fat ant was so angry that she slapped Luo Gangshun's thigh. The other party gasped in pain and stared at her. Where are you venting your anger? Ah, Ant Fat looked at him blankly. What's wrong? Luo Gangshun gritted his teeth bitterly. You slapped my leg, what's wrong? Ah, the fat ant tried hard to think back for a while, and then said with a dazed expression, really, I said why I didn't feel any pain. Luo Gangshun. Seeing that her father was about to go crazy with black lines, Luo Xiaoxian quickly picked up Aunt Fatty's words. Every time Chu Xia and I met them when we were young, they always treated me better than Chu Xia. I thought they were thank you for protecting Chu Xia, so that's how it is. Actually, it's not surprising when you think about it. How can parents be so fussy with their children? They. Luo Gangshun sighed and waved his hands. Forget it, let's not talk about them. Bao He, then what's your plan? You went to Chuxia with Yulan and didn't you come back? This is the place where I was raised. Of course I will come back. When I was young, the uncles and aunts in the village helped me a lot, I remember them all. And Bao Juan, I can't leave her alone. Father. Chu Xia interrupted him, I will be filial to my sister-in-law. As I said, I will treat her like my own mother in this life. I'm not just kidding. Zhao Yulan laughed and teased her daughter. Is Bao Juan as important as mother in Xia's heart? Is that possible? Chu Xia rolled his eyes. Mother, this is deliberately picking on you. You said you wanted Bao Juan to be your own mother. I mean, treat my little girl as sincerely as you treat your mother. I will do my best to help my little girl. If I want to be like my mother, then I have to be by my side. I have a biological mother and bully other people's mothers. Xiao Xiang and Daijiang won't eat me. Chu Xia changed the subject. However, this doesn't mean that I will help my sister-in-law for everything, for example, about grandparents. I won't get involved. Of course, my sister-in-law won't ask for anything for them, I'm just using a metaphor. Lest my mother pick my thorns again when the time comes. This child. Zhao Yulan pampered her daughter's head and looked at the fat ant. You say it's just her mouth. How can I rest assured that I'm staying at my in-laws' house? If you want to stay with your daughter, you can go. No one laughs at you, so what are you looking for? The fat ant picked up her chopsticks and greeted everyone. Talk while eating, don't let the dishes get cold. During the whole process, Jingzhe remained silent, and Luo Xiaoxian looked at him curiously. Teacher, what do you think? No. No, Luo Xiaoxian wondered, why not? You are Chu Xia's brother, and such a big incident happened in her family, so you have no idea. I can help, I will do my best, but I believe Aunt Lin Shulin has her own ideas about this matter, but... Jingzhe looked at Lin Baohe and Zhao Yulan seriously. Aunt Lin Shulin, don't forget, the Jing family is also your relatives. Thank you, Xiaozhe, we have troubled you too much, Zhao Yulan said with a look of embarrassment. We will not be in love with you in this life. Auntie, don't say that, it is fate to be able to help you, and I will feel very happy if I can help you. If uncle and auntie are more polite, it will really hurt my heart. Jingzhe sighed while talking. Don't worry, uncle and aunt, I really treat Chu Xia as my younger sister now, so don't feel burdened. Yes, yes, of course we know, Zhao Yulan hurriedly explained. Xiaozhe, I. After thinking for a while, he simply waved his hand. Forget it, I won't explain. The more I talk, the more confused I become. Jingzhe nodded. Yes, the more you say thank you, the more confused you will become. Uncle and aunt just accept it calmly. It's uncomfortable to keep thanking each other like this, isn't it? Okay, I won't thank you in the future. Zhao Yulan smiled helplessly. You child, we are also lucky to meet you. And, you just said no thanks, why do you say that again? Chu Xia glared at him. Brother, you never stop, are you an honest person who bullies my mother? Okay, I was wrong. Jing Zhe said as he raised his glass and drank it. Is it okay for me to punish myself? Chu Xia curled her lips in disdain. Just tell me if you are greedy for alcohol, what excuses are you making for yourself? The fat ant has been studying several people, and now she smiled and shook her head. If you just go out like this, if you don't say anything, others will really treat you as a family. Xia and Xiaoja look alike. Chu Xia's eyes widened in an instant. Fat ant, don't scare me like this. My father's identity has just been revealed, and I'm sensitive. If you say that I look like Big Brother Jing, I really have a feeling that my father is Jing. The feeling of the family, this is, too unreliable. Hearing what she said, everyone stared at her and Jing Zhe's faces. After a while, Luo Xiaoxian nodded and said, really like, my mother said so, I compared carefully, you two the nose and mouth are really similar. Well, yes, a little bit, the fat ant agreed while staring at the two of them. Letting them make such a fuss, Lin Baohe and Zhao Yulan could start to look at whether their daughter and Jing Zhe looked like each other. Not to mention, after looking at each other carefully for a while, they felt that what everyone said was really reasonable. Seeing that her parents also joined in, Chu Xia immediately turned black. Father, mother, you don't want to join in the fun, do you? No. Saying no, Zhao Yulan turned to Jing Zhe and asked, Little Zhe, you haven't heard from your father or mother that they have any missing relatives? Jing Zhe also couldn't laugh or cry at this moment, so he said helplessly, Aunt, as far as I know, our relatives don't seem to be missing, but it's more than 30 years ago. It's normal not to know. How about this, when I go back, I'll ask my dad and mom to see if they have any missing elders. Sure, you can ask for help, or you can ask them, do you know someone who has disappeared with the surname Lin? Zhao Yulan opened the small cloth bag that had been placed behind her all the time while speaking. I'll show you, look at these items, these are the ones that Baohe's own parents originally carried. This, Jing Zhe took the pair of silver chopsticks and looked up and down. I seem to have seen this somewhere, let me think, oh, yes, I remembered, Fang uncle has such a pair of chopsticks, they are exactly the same, he said they can be used for testing poison, and this one is really the same. He looked at it while talking, emphasizing over and over again that the chopsticks are the same as the chopsticks he has seen before. The same. What does Uncle Fang do? Chu Xia asked on behalf of Lin Baohe. Her father's upper and lower lips were already trembling with excitement, and he couldn't utter a word. He is one of my dad's best friends. Our two families get together several times a year. However, I have never heard of him having any missing relatives. Well, I'll ask when I get back. What do uncle and aunt think? Okay. Lin Baohe nodded vigorously to express his agreement. He couldn't find any other way to express his excitement right now. Luo Gangshun looked at the couple and asked, by the way, does Aunt and Uncle Zhao know about this? I don't know. Zhao Yulan shook her head. You left after we came back from Baojuan's house, and we didn't have time to say anything. The main thing is that we want to confirm the matter before we say it. Otherwise, we'll say it on the way. Oh, hey, with a heavy sigh, Zhao Yulan said, even if they treat us badly, we don't want it to be true. The fat ant stretched out her hand to pat Zhao Yulan, and comforted, it's a good thing, it's a good thing. She quickly explained to Lin Baohe, I didn't mean that it's a good thing that Chu Xia's grandparents are gone, I mean. Lin Baohe interrupted her, I know, you don't need to explain, I know it all, we've been dating for so many years, Can I not know your temper? I won't misunderstand you. Because Jingzhe brought up Uncle Fang's matter, the development of the matter took a turn for the better. Everyone was a little anxious to know the result, so they simply finished their meal and went to rest so that they could leave early the next day. Knowing that Lin Baohe and Zhao Yulan were worried, Jingzhe got up at 5 o'clock in the morning. He had confessed to Chu Xia at night, so Chu Xia and Luo Xiaoxian came over not long after he got up. Lin Baohe and Zhao Yulan didn't fall asleep all night. Jingzhe got up and they came out immediately. They couldn't be persuaded, so they had to let him come, and now they saw their daughter and Luo Xiaoxian staring in the door. It was both distressed and uncomfortable. When the car disappeared at the end of the village, Lin Baohe, Zhao Yulan, and Aunt Luo Gangshun sighed and went back to the house. The four of them sat together, silent for a long time. The chopsticks, bracelets, and gold ingots were handed over to Chu Xia to take away. One was to find relatives, and the other was for safety. What they need to do now is to quietly wait for the result. Maybe it is hope, maybe it is disappointment. At 10 o'clock in the morning, the car drove into City A. Looking at Chu Xia and Luo Xiaoxian, who were sleeping soundly on the back seat, Jingzhe couldn't help laughing. It became like this. First marriage then love. Mr. Mayor, please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 400. Chapter 60. Brother and Sister Love. What's the matter? What's wrong? Zhou Jingping opened the door and came in. He was a little puzzled when he found that the whole family was moaning. The fastest update is all in 4novels.com. It's not you, Lin Yangkaiu, who had nowhere to vent her grievances, found a punching bag. You still have the face to ask? If it weren't for you, would your son be so old without a wife? The corner of Zhou Hanliang's mouth twitched. Where did this go? However, it seems inconvenient for him to stay here any longer at this time. Originally, Zhou Mikang brought him here to let him explain Lin Chuxia's matter to everyone. Now that the task has been completed, he should also retire up. Thinking of this, he quickly got up to bid farewell to the group of people, and left Zhou's house as if fleeing. When he went out the door, he breathed a sigh of relief. Hey, every family has hard to recite scriptures. Back at the regiment headquarters, the door of the office was still tightly locked, and no matter how much he shouted, there was no answer from inside. Zhou Hanliang gritted his teeth and displayed his magic lock-picking skills. The room is empty. If it weren't for the pile of cigarette butts on the table that showed that Zhou Mikang had stayed in this room, Zhou Hanliang would have wondered if he had been dazzled to see Zhou Mikang locked himself in the office. If there is no one in the office, then look for it in the dormitory. Zhou Mikang owns a 2-bedroom house in the family courtyard of the military region. It is not big, but it is more than enough for a bachelor to live in. Occasionally, he will go there to sleep. Therefore, he has the key to Zhou Mikang's dormitory, and the door is opened smoothly. Still empty. Where can he go? Zhou Hanliang was really panicked. He wasn't worried that Zhou Mikang would do something unexpected, he was worried that he would hurt himself. For the first time, he was curious about the brother-sister relationship between Zhou Mikang and Zhou Xiaoreo. They are just brothers and sisters, how could they have such deep feelings? He has seen everything today with his own eyes. To Zhou Mikang, Zhou Xiaoreo is his back-to-back, and even his own eldest brother can't say a word about Zhou Xiaoreo. Zhou Hanliang searched every corner of the division headquarters, but he still couldn't find Zhou Mikang. The time was already pointing to 10:30 in the evening. Where could he go? With a flash of inspiration, he hurriedly called Su Zhenghong. What's up? Teacher, I want to ask you something. Where is Zhou Xiaoreo's grave? Hey, the other end of the phone sighed heavily. Is the third child not here? Yes, I guess he may have gone to Rao Rao's cemetery. I don't know the detailed address. I'll go find you right away. Need not. Listening to the blind voice coming from the receiver, Zhou Hanliang shook his head helplessly. No need to ask, the teacher must have been cleaned up by the teacher's wife, and he wished to find a reason to hide. It deserves it, who made him report to the family in such a hurry? Zhou Hanliang gloated a little. In less than a quarter of an hour, Su Zhenghong's car arrived at the gate of the military area. No matter how much he slandered in his heart, the other party was his immediate boss after all. After Zhou Hanliang got into the car, he acted respectfully. "Master, I'm really sorry to bother you in the middle of the night." Su Zhenghong slammed his fist on his chest. "Don't sell me these slices of soup, that's my nephew, no matter how late, I should come over, and he's bothering you. After learning a few words, you don't know what your last name is, right?" The first level of the government crushed people to death, but when they returned home, they were still cleaned up by their wives. "Teacher, you have seen through me. You managed to learn a few words and wanted to show off to you, but you messed up again. Hey, this is called playing a big knife in front of Guangong and looking for death." "Okay, I don't know you yet." Su Zhenghong glanced at him with a half smile. "What you say is sweet, but you don't know how to arrange me in your heart." Zhou Hanliang continued to disagree. "Master, how dare I?" "You don't dare." Su Zhenghong snorted coldly, and stopped talking to him. In this way, it was Zhou Hanliang's turn to feel guilty, and coughed lightly. "Master, I just went to the old house and told the truth." Snort. The head of the group is worried that if he doesn't explain the matter clearly, Madam will send someone to cast a big net. If Lin Chuxia is found out and complicates the matter, it will not end well. He doesn't want to say it himself, so let me say it. Snort. "Teacher." Zhou Hanliang's face became bitter. "I'm telling the truth, sister-in-law came home to trouble you, I really can't blame me." "What do you call my wife?" "Sister-in-law, sister-in-law." Zhou Hanliang's voice was a little weak. "Sister-in-law asked for this, saying that I look too old, and I can't call her old anymore." "Know why you are so old-fashioned?" "Intrinsic." "Nonsense, I'm just tired of worrying." Zhou Hanliang didn't know what to say. Was he willing to worry about it? If he didn't worry about it, the head of the group, Tongzi, would be able to take his skin off after he recovered his nerves. "Teacher, the relationship between the head and Rao Rao is very deep, isn't it?" Zhou Hanliang had nothing to say under the pressure of silence, but this was exactly what he was wondering about, and he could kill two birds with one stone. Su Zhenghong sighed softly. If there was no Rao Rao, Mi Kong would not be in this world now. "Tell me, do they have a deep relationship?" "Ah," Zhou Hanliang sat up straight suddenly. This news really shocked him. "Do you know how Mikam got its name?" Zhou Hanliang shook his head. "I don't know. When he was born, it was just in time for ridicule. The old man hoped that the people of the whole country could live a sweet life, so he named him Zhou Mikang. When he grew up, he hated his family calling him Xiaomi. Honey, but the name was chosen by the old man, and the meaning is well known, so it is naturally impossible to change his name. When he was 10 years old, a kid in the courtyard got into a fight over grabbing a basketball, and the kid scolded him for taking a woman's name, so he kicked and beat the kid, and accidentally slipped into the well. When Pai Zi saw it, he was so frightened that he ran home and hid. Rao Rao, who came out to play with Mikang, handed down the rope to save him under his command. The 20-year-old child was dragged up, and the little hand was bloody. Since then, Rao Rao has been Mikang's eyeball. Rao Rao has been gone for 6 years, but he still can't forgive his elder brother. In fact, he understands that his elder brother's heart is no better than his, but he just can't get over the hurdle in his heart. With a heavy sigh, Zhou Hanliang didn't know what to say. Sure enough, Zhou Mikang was sitting next to Zhou Xiaoreo's tombstone, sitting alone in such a place in the dark night. No wonder when they came in, the look in the eyes of the old man guarding the cemetery seemed to be looking forward to a savior. "You don't need to ask, I know that the old man must have come to urge him for countless times, but with Joe Mikang's stubborn temper, when he doesn't want to leave, it's useless to be urged by anyone, right? According to the regulations, the old man can't sleep when there are guests in the cemetery. He clearly wants to boil the old man to death. Su Zhenghong stretched out his hand to pull him, he didn't pull him. Han Liang, help me, Su Zhenghong told Zhou Han Liang. After a little hesitation, Zhou Han Liang stepped forward and held up Zhou Mikang's arm with Su Zhenghong. Captain, it's cold, if you don't rest, the old man will have to rest, let's go. Still no drag. Zhou Mikang, what exactly do you want? Su Zhenghong punched Zhou Mikang's chest angrily. Rao Rao has been gone for 6 years, and you have been blaming elder brother all this time. You clearly know how uncomfortable he is, but you still blame him. If Rao Rao finds out, I will definitely be disappointed in you. No, Zhou Mikang finally responded, but it was limited to 2 words. Why not? Su Zhenghong snorted coldly. She would want the whole family to fall apart because of her. Everyone should be careful when speaking in front of you, because if you accidentally touch Rao Rao, you will lose your face. There are some words, obviously you don't need to contact Rao Rao, but you can also contact Rao Rao. How can your family get along with you like this? In an instant, Zhou Han Liang felt a little lucky. Fortunately, he was not the family member of the head of the regiment, otherwise, he would have to blow the air conditioning every day. Let's go. Zhou Mikang stood up, then swayed and was about to fall. Zhou Han Liang quickly grabbed him. How long have you been sitting here? Let's go. It seemed that he was unwilling to say anything other than these 2 words. All the way in silence, the group returned to the division headquarters. What are you going to do? Su Zhenghong supported the table with his hands and looked directly at Zhou Mikang. The old man and the old lady are so old, I really can't bear you. Your father is not young. If this continues, one day you will regret it. Zhou Mikang raised his head and stared at him blankly. Sister-in-law taught you a lesson, so you come to me to find balance. You. Su Zhenghong was so angry that he had never seen such a difficult communication. Why? Doesn't make sense. Come on, hard. If he can't beat it, what else can he do? Go back and rest, lest you have to kneel on the washboard again. The corners of Zhou Han Liang's mouth twitched. His family leader's tube is too bad. How can he keep telling people his faults? Su Zhenghong glared at Zhou Mikang bitterly, turned around and walked out. He couldn't take care of the unlucky boy's private affairs, and he didn't want to take care of them. From now on, he should communicate with him on business matters. He doesn't care what he likes. Up. Little uncle, you still can't help but worry about it. Seeming to know what Su Zhenghong was thinking, Zhou Mikang said quietly. Su Zhenghong, who had just walked to the door, staggered, turned his head and tapped it with his middle finger, sighed quietly, and really left. Captain. You go back to sleep too. Zhou Mikang interrupted Zhou Han Liang, who wanted to continue to be a confidant brother. You can't manage my affairs, don't meddle in them. When did he want to blend in? The problem is, he is now confused by the head of the group. What is he thinking in his heart? If he knew what to do at first, then after hearing about Josei Aureo, he really doesn't know what to do. Done. Joining V, Nuan is very nervous, and wants to make this chapter free, but, Nuan has a relative's birthday tomorrow, and Nuan can't code it out at short notice, so I have to. It's unavoidable. Dear friends, don't worry, Nuan has been busy these few days. God, there will be a free episode, it will be what you want to watch. Please support Nuan with a genuine subscription. Your support is my biggest motivation. I will stick to 2 updates, it's really true. To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to subscribe and reward. Your support is my biggest motivation. First marriage then love, Mr. Mayor please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan Nuan. Chapter 401. The third one arrives. Is Chu Xia really back? Lin Yangkai came down from the stairs with a face full of surprise. I heard your voice, and I thought I heard it wrong, but I didn't expect it was really you. Mom, what's the matter with you? Seeing that Lin Yangkai's footsteps were a little staggering downstairs, Chu Xia hurried to meet her, staring at her legs and feet worriedly. It's okay, it's okay. Lin Yangkai smiled shyly. I had an appointment with some old friends the day before yesterday. I was thinking about not letting people laugh at me as a housewife who was getting more and more sloppy, so I wore high heels, which ended up hurting my ankle. It's twisted. Helping her to sit down on the sofa, Chu Xia took off her shoes, and saw that the ankle of her left foot was swollen thicker than her calf, and she couldn't help but gasped, Mom, the heel of your shoes is how tall? It's only this high. Lin Yangkai measured it with his fingers, and it looked like a little over 3 centimeters. In early summer, he had a black line, and later generations would wear a height of more than 10 centimeters, so they might not have twisted their feet. How about this? Luo Xiaoxian stepped forward to take a look, and then gasped, the skin on the ankle was swollen and transparent. It is really a skill to be able to twist the ankle like this. Lin Yangkai was holding a pair of black cloth shoes. In early summer, she went upstairs and took off the cotton slippers that Zhao Yulan had made for her according to her drawing, and helped Lin Yangkai put them on. It will be more comfortable this way. Lin Yangkai tried to move her feet and nodded repeatedly. Well, these shoes are comfortable. Xia, are these shoes made by your mother? Chu Xia nodded. Yeah. It's convenient to pull it in winter, she said with an embarrassed smile. I'm not good at sewing. I don't know how to do it. Lin Yangkai poked her forehead amusedly. You are my precious daughter-in-law. How can I let you do this job? Then she called Mama Lu to come over, and took off the shoe on her right foot. Look at this. Go back to Yang's shoe store to order a few pairs. Let's start with 2 pairs for each person. Yes, Mam. Lu Ma quickly went to get a piece of paper and pen, traced the shape very quickly, and returned the shoe cover to Lin Yangkai's feet. What a pity, alas. It's a pity. Looking at the shoes taken away by Lu Ma, Chu Xia's face is full of pain. If it weren't for the fact that business is not allowed in this day and age, she really wants to open a factory that produces slippers. Such a convenient thing, there must be many people buy, money, fly away with wings. What's the matter? Lin Yangkai asked suspiciously when she found the little daughter-in-law's expression was a bit strange. Did Mama Lu draw something wrong? Upon hearing this, Mama Lu quickly handed over the shoes. Miss San, take a look. No, no, no. Your drawing is quite right. Chu Xia smiled sheepishly. I'm just annoyed that I can't do needlework, or else I can make a pair for my grandparents, and parents. Pu, Luo Xiaoxian burst out laughing. She really didn't expect someone whose needlework was uglier than a centipede's feet. He had the nerve to say such a thing. Chu Xia glared at her. No joke. Luo Xiaoxian quickly covered her mouth and made a zip movement. Quiet. I don't know how to do needlework either. What's so embarrassing? Lin Yangkai was afraid that her daughter-in-law would lose face, so she dragged herself out as a backup. Cough, cough, cough. Mrs. Zhou coughed painfully. Daughter-in-law, you have done everything for your daughter-in-law. There is no comparison between you and me. The corners of Lu Ma's mouth were also twitching all the time. If the eldest lady said that she can't do needlework, who would dare to say that she can do needlework? The soles of her shoes are better than those made by the master of Yang's shoe shop, and she also said that she can't. Chu Xia is not stupid, she can tell what's going on by looking at everyone's expressions, and she feels guilty in her heart. Seeing how she lied, she directly made her mother-in-law follow her. But then I also figured out one thing. In this day and age, many people have problems eating, so how can they have spare money to buy slippers? It is estimated that no matter how cheap it is, ordinary people would not be willing to buy it, right? In the evening, After washing my feet and pulling on my shoes, I got into bed, and I still need fur slippers. Fortunately, she has self-knowledge, otherwise she will lose money in all chances of doing business. Father, brother, and sister-in-law, have they all gone to work? Chusia changed the subject. Yeah, your dad has returned to the army, and he probably won't be back for a month or two. Your elder brother and sister-in-law thought you would get home at night, so they went to work. I wanted your sister-in-law to ask for leave to take care of her health at home. She said that she was bored after being idle for so long. I was in a panic, so I had to let her go back to work at the post office, alas. Lin Yangkao sighed helplessly. I want to transfer her to an easier department, but she still doesn't go. She is really stubborn. Sister-in-law is afraid that others will gossip, right? Chusia was just about to say that the post office is not busy anyway, but when she was about to say something, she immediately realized it and quickly silenced it. In this age of keeping in touch by writing letters and sending telegrams, what else is the post office busy? Yeah, your sister-in-law is very strong and saves face. When she married into our family, many people said that she is trying to make our family happy, but she is so strong. Afraid that the younger daughter-in-law would also use this as a benchmark, Lin Yangkai quickly told, Xia, we can't think that way, it's fate to be a family, and we can't tire ourselves to death just because we're afraid of outsiders talking nonsense. Chu Xia has a black thread all over her head. How did this get on her head? The problem is, if she doesn't work hard, how can parents live here comfortably? While struggling with how to answer, Jing Zhe rescued her. The arrival of the whole family of the Jing family surprised both Mr. Zhou and Mrs. Zhou. After politely getting up and saying hello, Chu Xia put a few things on the tea table, and then detailed about her parents. Say it again. In the end, she looked at everyone expectantly, hoping that someone could give her a clear answer. People in this era are very obsessed with the concept of roots. Although her father said that he has a daughter and a wife and doesn't want to think about anything else, he still cares about the fact that he doesn't know where the roots are. Several elders picked up the things one by one and looked at them, but in the end they all shook their heads without exception, saying that they had never seen these things, nor heard of any son or daughter who had been lost for nearly 40 years. The only hope now is Jing Mo Nian. Knowing Chu Xia's mood, Mrs. Zhou asked Jing Zhe to take Chu Xia to Jing Mo Nian to see if he could think of anything. Jing Mo Nian had just had the operation, and was sitting in the office with his eyes closed to rest his mind. When he heard the sound, he quickly opened his eyes. Seeing that it was his son and Chu Xiaoluo Zioxian, he showed a faint smile. You came back so early. Dad, I have something to trouble you, Jing Zhe said straightforwardly. Chu Xia hurriedly handed the things to Jing Mo Nian. Before she could speak, he saw Jing Mo Nian stroking the blood-red bracelet excitedly, with a dazed expression. This must be acquaintance. Chu Xia swallowed subconsciously. Although she felt that it was not good to interrupt the other party, she still couldn't help asking, Uncle Jing, do you know the owner of this object? After calming down, Jing Mo Nian said, I don't know the owner of this object, but I know someone who wants this object, but the one she got should be another one. Dad, I remember that Uncle Zhang has a pair of chopsticks like this, right? Jing Zhe handed the chopsticks to Jing Mo Nian. These chopsticks and this bracelet should belong to the same family, right? Where did you get this? Jing Mo Nian did not answer his son's words, but looked at Chu Xia excitedly. Ever since I met Jing Mo Nian, it was the first time I saw him lose his composure. Chu Xia knew that he should have found the right person, so he quickly told about his father's life experience. When she mentioned that the couple lost their lives to save old man Lin's child, Jing Mo Nian collapsed. After a long while, he raised his head and looked at Chu Xia. Son, please let me calm down first. Tell you again, okay. Okay, Chu Xia hurriedly replied. How dare she not? No matter how anxious she was, She couldn't be in a hurry at this moment. Just by looking at Jing Mo-nian's expression, it must have something to do with his previous affairs. When a person has this kind of expression, he usually cannot get what he wants, and his thoughts are eternal. Time passed minute by minute. Jing Mo-nian always maintained a sitting posture, like a stone sculpture, motionless. Chu Xia felt that his breathing was going to be difficult, so he simply pulled Luo Xiaoxian back out. After leaving the door, Luo Xiaoxian let out a long breath, lowered his voice and said to Chu Xia, "Hey, why do I have the feeling that father and son have encountered the same thing? You are the only one who is smart." Chu Xia glared at her, not bothering to talk to her, and she is not blind. Does she need to remind her? Actually, I want to say that my father is not as free and easy as a son. Although Jing Zhe still has a bit of hazy feelings for you, he can already treat you as a younger sister calmly. I believe that one day, he will turn you into a complete girl. Sister. But this Uncle Jing probably won't be able to get out in this life. Do you think Aunt Zhu knows? If she knew, would she not be able to bear it? Chu Xia was taken aback for a moment. She really didn't expect this. Did Zhu Xingcan know about Jing Mo-nian's previous affair? She began to try hard to recall the attitude of Mrs. Jing and Mrs. Jing when they saw these things. Is there a possibility that the old couple knew these things, but they deliberately didn't say it out of concern for their daughter-in-law? If that's the case, this matter may embarrass Jing Mo-nian. But, father is very concerned about this matter. What should she do? When he was in a dilemma, Jing Zhe came out of the office and waved to the two of them. "Come in." Chu Xia hurriedly said, "Brother, wait a moment." She took a few steps forward and whispered, "If this will make Uncle Jing difficult, why don't you talk to Uncle Jing, and then I will write to tell you the truth. My parents, specifically, wait for Zhou Mikang to come back and then do it, okay?" You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. First Marriage Then Love, Mr. Mayor Please Be Kind. Author, Zhao Nuan Nuan. Chapter 402. One update arrives. There will be another update today. Whether it is one update or two updates, it is still uncertain. Anyway, there is at least one update. Chu Xia, if I were your real brother, would you think so much? Jing Zhe's eyes clearly showed signs of injury. Well, of course, she doesn't have to think about it so much if it's her own brother. The key question is, if it's her own brother, they will be the same father, so why should she think about what's there or not? Brother, of course you and I don't have to be polite, but you can't represent Uncle Jing. You can tell from his expression just now that this matter must be very embarrassing for him. I don't want Uncle Jing and Aunt Zhu to have conflicts because of our family's affairs. If Aunt Zhu knew about it, Grandpa Jing and Grandma Jing couldn't have sent us here, right? Jing Zhe immediately felt relieved, and said with a smile, "You are not very old, and your thinking is quite careful. Don't worry, it will be fine." Is it really all right? Chu Xia stared at him suspiciously. This matter must not be sloppy, and there must be no conflict between Uncle Jing and Aunt Zhu. Jing Zhe was speechless. Why do you think so much? After listening to my dad, you can decide what to do. That's right. Chu Xia blinked her big eyes, and smiled embarrassedly. I'm really at a dead end. Let's go now, it's her turn and can't wait. Jing Mo-nian's expression had returned to calm, and when he saw a few people coming in, he smiled and pointed to the opposite chair, and signaled Jing Zhe to lock the door of the office from the inside. I don't know about your father's life experience, and I haven't heard from the Lin family in Beijing that they have lost contact with their relatives. However, this bracelet and this pair of chopsticks, I can be sure that they are heirlooms of the Lin family in Beijing. It is said that this is a reward that an old ancestor of the Lin family got from the palace, and it has been passed down from generation to generation. The bracelet is for health preservation, and the chopsticks are for testing poison. Ordinary silver chopsticks do not have the function of testing poison. Special processing. Zhang Xinzou's pair of chopsticks was borrowed from his sister Zhang Xinwan. It just so happened that Xiao Zhe saw this bracelet. Zhang Xinwan also has one, but Jing Mo Nian showed a painful expression on his face. It's just broken. Dad broke it? Jing Zhe asked. Yes, Jing Mo Nian smiled wryly. I broke it, and at the same time, it also completely broke my relationship with Zhang Xinwan. With a sigh, he continued, you all saw my gaffe just now. I don't need to lie to you either. Back then, Zhang Xinzou and Lin Haidong and I were classmates, and the three of us always went out together. Lin Haidong and I both fell in love with Zhang Xinzou's younger sister, Zhang Xinwan, when we graduated from university. Zhang Xinwan finally rejected Lin Haidong clearly and chose to be with me. During that time, it was my happiest day. I thought we would live happily ever after. It turned out one day. She held a blood-red bracelet and asked me if I was pretty, and I said it was pretty. When asked where she got it, she said it belonged to Lin Haidong. I was furious at that time, grabbed the bracelet and threw it on the ground. The bracelet broke into 3 pieces on the spot. Zhang Xinwan was obviously stunned. Then she packed up the broken bracelet, wrapped it up, and left without saying a word. I was angry, so I didn't stop her, but since then, she has not seen me, and asked her brother to tell me clearly that she gave up on me. And then came the news of her engagement, and the object of the engagement was Lin Haidong. You can imagine my anger at that time, so I went to Lin Haidong to settle accounts and called him mean. Lin Haidong's expression was very cold. He said that I messed up the matter myself, and I can't blame him. If you ask more questions, he won't say anything. Afterwards I asked Zhang Xinzou, and Zhang Xinzou didn't know why, saying that he was also surprised why his sister suddenly changed her attitude. He asked Zhang Xinwan, and Zhang Xinwan only said one sentence, fate is destined. Until now, I haven't contacted Lin Haidong and Zhang Xinwan again, but just now, when I saw this bracelet and thought about what you said, I suddenly wanted to understand what happened back then. I guess Lin Haidong had 2 reasons for giving this bracelet to Zhang Xinwan at the time. One is that girls like this kind of beautiful things, and he hopes to use this to give himself another chance. The other is to ask Zhang Xinwan to help find another bracelet. Or, in other words, to ask her to help find the missing relatives of the Lin family. Of course, I think the second possibility is simply to pave the way for the first possibility. Otherwise, he couldn't find a suitable reason to approach Zhang Xinwan. It's a pity, but I fell for his tricks. The bracelet was broken. Zhang Xinwan had no other choice but to repay the debt with herself. The so-called destiny is destined, probably that's what it means. Jing Zhe frowned and said, according to what Dad said, Lin Haidong is also quite despicable, just robbing Dad's sweetheart like that. Don't tell your mother about this, she doesn't know. But after a pause, Jing Mo Nian smiled, I have lived with your mother for so many years, and I am still very happy. Jing Zhe waved his hand at him, Father, you don't need to show your loyalty to me. I don't want to get involved in your previous affairs. I just care about how to find relatives for Uncle Lin. According to your statement, it seems that it is inconvenient for you to go, or I will go to Uncle Zhang and ask him to help inquire first, to see what the Lin family's attitude is towards this matter. In order not to be angry if people don't recognize us after going like this, and, if the Lin family is also a little worried, I advise Uncle Lin not to recognize it. If we meet Grandpa Lin and Grandma Lin again, Uncle Lin and Aunt Lin, it really fell into the well. The Lin family won't do that. Although Lin Haidong's actions back then were not straightforward, but Jing Mo Nian cast his eyes on Chu Xia's face, and said with a smile, there are a few fools like you. If you take the initiative, maybe Chu Xia, it's my daughter-in-law. Dad, why are you still making fun of us? Jing Zhe looked at his father with a headache. Was it because he was afraid that the world would not be chaotic or something? Okay, let me make a joke with you. Jing Mo Nian waved his hand to see off the guests. Hurry up to find Zhang Xinzhou while it's still early. I won't follow this matter, lest your mother find out and get angry with me. Jing Zhe looked at Chu Xia. Now you know that your worry is unnecessary. Yes. This shows that Uncle Jing's favorite is Aunt Zhu, and now I feel relieved. Chu Xia smiled gratefully at Jing Mo Nian. Thank you, Uncle Jing. Don't be polite to me, go get down to business. Jing Zhe took Chu Xia and Luo Xiaoxian to Zhang Xinzhou's place non-stop. Zhang Xinzhou is the director of the Civil Affairs Bureau of A, and Jing Zhe took the two of them to Zhang Xinzhou's office with his familiarity, but there was no one there. When I went out to ask, there was a meeting for the leadership team, so the three had to sit in the office and wait. At 11:30, Zhang Xinzhou came back. He was tall and strong, wearing gold-rimmed glasses, a pair of long and narrow phoenix eyes, a high nose bridge, and full lips. Regardless of the aesthetics of any era, he was an absolute handsome man. Seeing Jing Zhe, he smiled first. Little Zhe, why are you willing to see Uncle Zhang? Who are these two little comrades? Uncle Zhang, do you have time now? Jing Zhe was not polite to him, and asked straight to the point. What's wrong? Zhang Xinzhou's expression became serious. Is something wrong? I need Uncle Jiang's help. Let's find a quiet place to talk. Okay, Jing Zhe said. Zhang Xinzhou brought several people to a small meeting room, closed the door, and said, okay, let's talk. Chu Xia showed off her baby again. Sure enough, Zhang Xinzhou's eyes lit up when he saw the chopsticks and bracelet, and asked Chu Xia inquiringly, can I have a look? Of course, in an instant, Chu Xia had the feeling of doing an underground transaction. Picking up the chopsticks and bracelets one by one to observe and caressing the boss for a while, Zhang Xinzhou reluctantly put them down, and smiled at them embarrassedly. I just like this one. When I see these things, I want to move them. Take a look. Uncle Zhang, we came to you to ask you some questions. Have you ever heard from Aunt Xinwan that there are missing relatives from her husband's house that have never been found? Zhang Xinzhou is a smart person. When Jing Zhe said this, he understood the general idea, tried to recall, and said, I haven't heard Xinwan say that, but this thing is definitely related to the set in her hand, or I'll take you to find her. Now, Jing Zhe asked with some uncertainty. Aren't you in a hurry? Zhang Xinzhou glanced at the time. Let's rush over there after dinner, just in time for the old lady of the Lin family to take their lunch break. Jing Zhe looked at Chu Xia inquiringly. How is it? Shall we go through like this? Chu Xia hesitated, and said, what if the Lin family doesn't want to admit this? Will we cause trouble to Uncle Zhang if we go through like this? Zhang Xinzhou thought for a while and said, can you tell me the details? It's not that Chu Xia didn't want to talk about it, but she felt that it would be impolite to talk about family history as soon as she came here. Now that Zhang Xinzhou took the initiative to ask, she certainly wouldn't hide it, and told the other party everything she knew. Zhang Xinzhou stood up and said, let's go, it's been such a long time, and any conflicts will probably have dissipated long ago. Of course, if they really have something, you can treat it as if you don't have this family. You can't just leave the tiger's den has entered the wolf's den, right? Everyone laughed at what he said, and the strangeness they saw at first dissipated a lot. Uncle Zhang, based on your previous contact with the Lin family, what kind of people do you think they are? Are they easy to get along with? On the way to the Lin family, Chu Xia took the initiative to ask Zhang Xinzhou about the Lin family. Only then can we prepare in advance. First marriage then love. Mr. Mayor, please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan Nuan. Chapter 403. The second watch arrives. I get along with them in terms of etiquette. I really can't say it, but Lin's Haidong's personality is not bad. Of course, he is more scheming than Jing Zhe's father, he. Zhang Xinzhou said while looking at Jing Zhe laughing, your father asked you to come to me, must have told him about my sister. I said it. Jingzhe pouted at Zhang Xinzhou. You too, Uncle Zhang, why didn't you help my father at that time? You also said that my father is not so scheming. If I help, will you still be there? That's right. Jingzhe rubbed his head embarrassingly. Why did I forget about this? But what I'm wondering is, how can Aunt Xinwan not explain her straightforward character? If she said it, my dad would definitely apologize to her, to the Lin family, then she wouldn't have to force herself to marry someone she didn't love. She's living a pretty good life, and now she feels that she's married rightly. Zhang Xinzhou sighed. Whoever has a fate with whom to the end, you can't force it. Back then, our whole family liked your dad as the son-in-law of the Zhang family, but something happened to the unborn child, and we all asked Xinwan afterward. As for her, she kept her mouth shut and didn't explain anything, so she decided on one. To marry Lin's Haidong. We thought she might really like Lin's Haidong, so we didn't ask any more, but in the first few years, she was very unhappy. Fortunately, Lin's Haidong has always been kind to her, and gradually, she became more cheerful. It's just that she has been refusing to see your father, but she treats you very well. Seriously, as her brother. I don't even know what she's thinking. Very tangled personality. Chu Xia hesitated for a moment, and looked at Zhang Xinzhou seriously. Uncle Zhang, this is the first time we've met. Normally, I shouldn't ask you for anything, but right now, it seems the most reliable way to find you. So, can I ask you, in case we meet with the Lin family? It's not going well, so you can help smooth things over. Let's leave, shall we? Zhang Xinzhou looked at her amusedly. Actually, you want to tell them not to steal your things, right? You're so smart. Chu Xia smiled embarrassingly. Compared to you, I'm really weak. Weak, Zhang Xinzhou repeated, nodding with a smile. This Qi is interesting, you are indeed weak. Little girl, I just said that Lin's Haidong is more thoughtful than Jing Monian, and I am definitely more than Lin's Haidong. Careful. So, you have to be careful when dealing with me, he. What a charming uncle. Looking at Zhang Xinzhou, who was smiling like a jade tree. It's going to be fun in early summer, an uncle with such a style. Really charming. Judging from his appearance, Zhang Xinwan is definitely not ugly. It's no wonder that Uncle Jing still misses her. However, a beauty's life seems to be full of ups and downs. At this moment, she has forgotten that she is also a beauty. It was already 2 o'clock in the afternoon when we arrived at Lin's house. The Lin family lived in an antique courtyard house, which was 6 or 7 times larger than ordinary courtyard houses. I just returned it last year. Before that, it had been falling apart. After entering the door, Jing Mo Nian introduced it to several people. He told them in a disguised form that the Lin family had also suffered a lot, and it was not until now that Chu Xia realized that she had never asked what the Lin family did. However, it doesn't make sense to ask or not. She never thought that the reason for admitting it was to gain advantage, she just wanted to let her father have a root. They met Zhang Xinwan first. The moment she saw Chu Xia, Zhang Xinwan was obviously a little lost, but she concealed it well and quickly regained her composure. Chu Xia finally understands what beauty is. Her eyebrows and eyes are 5 or 6 points similar to Zhang Xinzhou, but she is more delicate and beautiful than Zhang Xinzhou. The elegance and gracefulness exuded by every gesture, let alone a man, she is just a woman, are willing to see. Seeing her elder brother bringing Jingzhe over, Zhang Xinwan's eyes showed a hint of surprise. She beckoned them to sit down, and said with a smile, "What's the wind blowing today?" "Auntie, this is my sister Lin Chuxia, and this is my sister's friend Luo Xiaoxian," Jingzhe quickly introduced to Zhang Xinwan. "Sister," Zhang Xinwan looked at Zhang Xinzhou in surprise. "It's not my real sister, but my god sister, the goddaughter that Mr. Jing recognizes," Zhang Xinzhou quickly explained, and looked at Jingzhe with a smile. "Your aunt thought, when did your father give birth to an illegitimate daughter outside?" When introducing, remember to say a few more words, in case people misunderstand. How wronged is your father? Is there something wrong? Zhang Xinhuan obviously didn't like what her brother said, so she quickly answered the conversation. Where's Haidong? Zhang Xinzhou asked. Brother, why are you pretending to be confused? Of course he is at work. Zhang Xinhuan rolled her eyes at her brother. Tell me quickly if you have something to do, don't procrastinate, I don't like it. I didn't procrastinate on purpose, but I have something to ask Haidong for confirmation. How about this? Let me ask you first, you have been married to the Lin family for so many years, do you know that the Lin family has missing relatives? Zhang Xinhuan's eyes flickered slightly. Brother, why do you ask this? It seems that you know, so tell us about it. Zhang Xinzou's expression became serious. Don't make excuses to get away, if you trust me, just tell me, I'm asking you, there must be a reason. First find out you, of course, because you are my sister, I can trust you. Zhang Xinhuan snorted coldly. Brother will always regard Jing Mo Nian more important than me. Then she quickly explained to Jing Jie, it's not your father's fault, it's your uncle Zhang who went too far. Look at him, did he believe me when he said this? He was trying to provoke me. To put it bluntly, he just didn't believe that I would tell the truth, so he did it on purpose. Chu Xia showed the evidence for the 4th time today, you know this, right? Where did this come from? Zhang Xinhuan started to chatter all of a sudden, and when her eyes were fixed on the blood-red bracelet, her expression suddenly became agitated. My father's, Chu Xia said. Your father? Zhang Xinhuan took the bracelet carefully and checked it, then stood up suddenly. You wait, I'll come as soon as I go. Wait. Zhang Xinzhou grabbed his younger sister. Tell us briefly first, don't make up your own mind and report it. I'm not very clear about the specifics. My father-in-law has been secretly looking for a younger brother who has been missing for many years. It can be seen that he misses him very much. However, this topic is a taboo in this family, and no one has ever dealt with it openly. Find the missing second uncle Lin, so now only he can give you the most truthful answer. When Lin's Haidong gave you the bracelet, did he tell you about his missing second uncle? Zhang Xinzhou asked. After hesitating for a moment, Zhang Xinhuan nodded, yes. Why didn't you explain it to Mo Nian? Because this is the Lin family's secret. He told me when he told me. It's a secret that no one can tell. I promised him, so of course I can't tell it. In order to pay off the debt, you married him. What if I don't marry him? Zhang Xinhuan sighed. The situation at that time, if I didn't marry her, I would live in regret for the rest of my life. Lan Qin's eyebrows and eyes were 4 or 5 points similar to his old lady's. He suspected that Lan Qin's parents might be Uncle Lin and Aunt Lin. Just put the bracelet here and let me show it to Lan Qin sometime. The bracelet is so beautiful, I couldn't help showing it off to Jing Mo Nian, but I didn't expect him to snatch it and throw it to me on the ground. If I hadn't shown off at the time, I wouldn't have ruined such a precious family heirloom. What choice would I have other than marrying him? However, now I really feel that I married the right one. He has been the same to me for so many years. As a woman, this is enough. What's so shameful about this? Zhang Xinzhou frowned and said, if the news gets out, we can find second Uncle Lin sooner. Why must we be sneaky? It's probably because I'm afraid of attracting the attention of interested people and bringing danger to Uncle Lin. Of course, this is my guess. Zhang Xinhuan pointed to the blood-red bracelet. It's not too much to say that this blood jade is priceless. It is rare to come across 100 years, let alone such a big and pure one. If it is really publicized, it is inevitable that birds will eat and die. Blood jade. Chu Xia was stunned for a moment. She had been looking at the blood-red bracelet, which looked pretty, but she didn't expect it to be a blood jade. This is a legendary thing. It was produced in the snow-covered plateau of Tibet. According to historical records, Only when Songtsan Gampo married Princess Wenchange in the Tubo era, there was a record and introduction of this blood jade in the gift list. She had read the information on this before, and always regarded it as something in myths and legends. Unexpectedly, now she actually saw it with her own eyes. Moreover, it can also be said that it is hers at all. Isn't her father's hers? Suddenly, her hatred for Mrs. Lin and Mrs. Lin disappeared completely. If they didn't know the value of this thing and kept it under the box, it might have been destroyed. You know about blood jade? Chu Xia's expression caught Zhang Xinwan's attention, and she asked in surprise. I read it in a book, and thought it was just a legend. Chu Xia smiled sheepishly. It was so sudden, I lost my composure, and I made you laugh. I'm basically sure that your father is Uncle Lin's son, because... After a pause, Zhang Xinwan said, you look so much like my great-grandmother. Chu Xia has a black hair, why does she look so much like her mother-in-law? Zhang Xinwan also realized that her words could not withstand scrutiny, so she quickly added an explanation, I mean, your appearance is 80% similar to that of my great-grandmother. Wait a minute, I will show you a photo. As she spoke, she ran to another room. First marriage then love, Mr. Mayor please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan Nuan. Chapter 404. It's 3 o'clock. This is simply an enlarged version of Lin Chuxia. This is everyone's first reaction when they see the woman in the photo. Thin black crescent eyebrows, watery big phoenix eyes, beautiful double eyelids, straight nose. The only difference is that Chu Xia's lips it is plump, and the woman's lips in the photo are those small cherry lips. At this moment, everyone affirmed the correctness of this trip to find relatives. Evidence can change hands, but appearance is born. Now, can I tell my parents-in-law about this? Zhang Xinwan looked at Chu Xia inquiringly, is that okay? Okay, Chu Xia nodded, everyone is here, there is no reason to be a coward. If they dare to snatch her bracelet, she is not afraid, and there is Zhou Mikang. A certain person didn't even realize it, but subconsciously, he had already regarded the head of the group as his protector. Zhang Xinwan hurried out, and Chu Xia couldn't help whispering in Luo Xiaoxian's ear, look at how he walks, and learn from it. Luo Xiaoxian quickly shook her head, you should learn. If I go like this, my mother will probably be able to drive me 10 miles away with a big stick. Do you have an aesthetic vision? Chu Xia frowned at her helplessly, I don't believe this is called elegance. If you walk elegantly, Aunt Fat will beat you to death. Is this called tweaking? Okay, Luo Xiaoxian murmured in a low voice, glanced at Zhang Xinzhou quietly, saw that Fang was talking to Jingjie, and didn't pay attention to them, so she lowered her voice and continued, don't you think that I, with my size, acted like that posture, a bit like a man pretending to be a woman? Chu Xia. She really couldn't communicate with her future sister-in-law. This appreciative vision is more than a rank short. She clearly walks gracefully, what happened to her? Within 10 minutes, Zhang Xinwan hurried back with an old couple. Zhang Xinzhou quickly stood up, Aunt Lin Shulin, hello. Hello Xiaozhou. When the old man answered Zhang Xinzhou, his eyes were fixed on Chu Xia's body, full of excitement and disbelief. The old lady's expression was not as excited as his, but, with a look of astonishment on her face, she went straight to Chu Xia, took her hand, and looked at her carefully, like, really like. Son. The old man's voice trembled, what is your father's name? Lin Baohe. Lin Baohe, the old man was taken aback for a moment, has your father changed his name? Chu Xia shook his head, my father has always been called Lin Baohe, but it's a long story, why don't you sit down first, Grandpa, and I'll tell you slowly. Okay. The old man hurriedly sat down on the sofa. Babo looked at Chu Xia, how are your grandpa and grandma doing now? Are they in good health? What does your father do? How old are you? A series of questions blurted out, and the old lady glared at the old man. You let the children talk one by one. Asking so many questions at once, how can the children answer you? Tell the story of the couple who fell into the water again. The reaction caused was different from before. The old man and the old lady both cried into tears. Wait for the mood to calm down. The old man sighed, son, I made you laugh, but grandpa couldn't help it. We always thought that your grandparents were still alive, but they were trapped somewhere. Unexpectedly, they were trapped Lord Hades. Alas! Why did they leave? And why didn't they dare to look for it openly? These were the two questions Josei was most concerned about, and she asked them directly. This matter dates back to a long time ago. Our ancestors were all officials, and it was nothing at first, but suddenly we couldn't let go of this matter. After hearing the news that someone was coming to raid the house, your great-grandfather and grandma gave us and your grandparents the family heirlooms, and asked us to escape overnight with the children. Of course we don't want to, but the old couple threatened their lives, so we have no choice but to listen to them. It was originally agreed that we two brothers will leave separately, one will go to Xinjiang to find my aunt, and the other will go to Ludong to find my sister-in-law. Let them arrange to live quietly. At the beginning, I definitely didn't dare to write letters to my family. Later, when things got more or less the same, your great-grandfather and grandma wrote letters to the two relatives respectively, saying that they could let us come back. Although the house has not been returned, but the matter it has passed. We rushed back, but my sister-in-law wrote a letter saying that the second brother and his wife hadn't been seen, and the great-grandfather and grandma were in a hurry and went to look for them along the way. As a result, there was no news at all, and we didn't dare to look for it blatantly. As for the evidence carried by the second brother and the second sibling, we dared not mention it. When the house was raided, your great-grandpa and grandma replaced the real one with a fake one. If people found out, the Lin family would be ruined, so I dare not tell outsiders about this. Later, a friend of your great-grandfather said that he saw the second child's family encounter robbers on the road, killed them and ran away, and he didn't know where to hide. Having said that, I didn't dare to look for it. In fact, the murderer only looked like the second child, not the second child at all, but at that time, who would dare to bet? If it was really the second child who did it, then his life would definitely be gone. Your great-grandpa and grandma thought, don't look for him at all, it would be a death if you find him, it's better to just float outside like this, at least there is still a thought. Until they died, the old couple still missed your grandpa and grandma. Alas, if they knew, something bad happened to the second family's family long ago. Mr. Lin shook his head, unable to continue. Well, there are many incomprehensible things about this matter in later generations, but in this era, it is not surprising at all. Many people were really frightened by being criticized and scolded. The slightest thing may cause unmanageable consequences. Therefore, after my grandparents disappeared, I dare not ask or investigate, which is also a kind of protection. Even now, except for her kind who came from later generations, other people have to think about it 3 times before spitting out. Of course, except for Luo Zioxian, the two of them are naturally the same. It is not uncommon to say a wrong sentence and lose your life before. Therefore, many people really have an instinctive fear of those rules, systems, and laws in their hearts. At this time, Lin Baohe is the matter of Lin Zhenjun's son, and it is already a certainty. Mr. Lin knew that his second younger brother's family did not kill anyone, so he couldn't sit still for a while, and asked Zhang Xinwan to find Lin's Haidong immediately. Take them back to Dalian village to meet relatives, and move the graves. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. First marriage then love, Mr. Mayor please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan Nuan. Chapter 405. One more. After Chu Xia and her group left, Zhao Yulan and Lin Baohe prepared food, incense, candles and burned paper to go to the cemetery in Dalian village. As soon as the two of them left, Lin Chuqiu rushed to report the news to MRS Lin. MRS Lin. Both Lin Baojiang and Lin Baohai knew that Lin Baohe was not the real son of the Lin family. Last night, MRS Lin and MRS Lin called the eldest son and the third son's family for a meeting, and told them the truth about the situation back then. While the truth is surprising, it is not surprising that the old couple's attitude towards Lin Baohe's family is clearer than anyone else. Thinking about it now, everything makes sense. Lin Baojiang even suspected a long time ago that he and Lin Baohe were not the biological sons of MRS Lin, otherwise, the old couple's attitudes towards the four children should not be so different. However, no matter whether it is an open investigation or an unannounced visit, the conclusion is the same. Mr. Lin only married MRS Lin. Since then, the term stepmother is naturally no longer valid. Why do parents only love Baohai and Baojuan, and treat me so coldly? After talking, Lin Baojiang finally asked out what had been on his mind for many years. Off, don't make trouble here, Mr. Lin replied to him. Then, Lin Baojiang really rolled. Originally, he thought that the old man and the old lady would plead for him in Baohe, and maybe give him a chance, but now his hopes were shattered, and he didn't bother to talk to them anymore. In this life, he would probably just be an ordinary farmer. If there is no desire, there is no desire, so he doesn't want to look at their faces anymore. Zheng Sanqiao watched her husband go out. So she followed suit. She was always a loser. The relationship between the old man and the old lady and Lin Baohe had become so rigid that she couldn't be bothered to deal with them. Now she can't wait for them to move out of her house as soon as possible. In this way, her wish for many years came true. Anyway, she didn't expect her husband to gain much fame from Chu Xia and become a high-ranking official. For her, the most affordable thing is the house in front of her. Old Man Lin and MRS Lin were so angry that they trembled for a long time without saying a word. Lin Baohai was also very disappointed. Anyway, as long as the second brother is the second brother, there will always be a day of glory. Now the second brother is not only the second brother, what else does he want to be proud of? And the point is, the old man and the old lady are simply ungrateful. They took the benefactor's things and abused the benefactor's son. It would be strange if the second brother still missed the old love. But he also knew that at this point, it's useless for him to complain, and it's useless to please the second brother. The only thing is how to live. I hope nothing else will happen again. Lin Chuqiu, who was so focused on waiting to go to the city to work and marry a wife, couldn't accept this fact at all. Seeing that Peng Chunyi was about to become his wife, she just flew away like this. He is not reconciled. The only one who was not affected was Lin Chuchun. He felt a sense of relief and was always caught in the middle. Seeing his grandparents and his father plotting against Erbo's family, he couldn't stand it. But he can't really help the second uncle. It's the best way to do it now. In the future, they will have no reason to plot against the second uncle. He can also live his life according to his own wishes in an open and honest manner, and no longer have to resist their arrangements. And bothered. Baohai, let's move back. Old Man Lin clicked his cigarette pipe and spoke. Looking at his wife, Lin Baohai laughed together. Father, Chuchun and Chuqiu are about to marry a wife. How inconvenient is it for your second boss to move around like this? Old Man Lin raised his head and stared straight at him. After a long while, he sneered and said, Old man and old lady are useless, are they parents? Father. Lin Heibao lowered his voice, we got married in early spring and early autumn, so we can't let them squeeze into the same Kong, right? What if we can't come back here? He dares, Mr. Lin snorted coldly, do you really think I'm an old waste? If it wasn't for the early spring and early autumn, would I be so anxious to move back now? Grandpa, I'll help you move it. Hearing that it was for him, Lin Chuchun was in a panic, and in a hurry, he helped the old couple pack their things. After the group arrived at Lin Baohai's house, Old Man Lin expressed his thoughts. Even if they didn't treat Lin Baohai very well, it's a fact that they raised him. Without them, would Lin Baohai survive? Nurturing kindness is greater than giving birth to kindness, so it is right for Lin Baohai to repay them. Lin Baohai's biggest weakness is the importance he attaches to his wife and daughter, and his love for reputation, and this is what they can take advantage of. Chuchun, keep an eye on your second uncle and auntie. No matter where they go, tell me. Mr. Lin handed over the task of following up to his grandson. Lin Chuchun curled his lips. He really didn't understand what his grandfather was thinking. Things have come to this point, and he still doesn't give up. Could it be that he is really a second uncle? Grandpa and Grandma, what is the direct relationship between you moving back and asking Erbo's family to help? Lin Chuchun asked intentionally. It's not safe to discuss with your uncle. Mr. Lin put the cigarette pouch on the edge of the Kong and knocked it. The room leaks sound. I tried it. Then when I get married. Lin Chukia looked at the old man and the old lady anxiously. Are grandparents going to move back to uncle and uncle's place? Ah, old man Lin sighed heavily, but didn't speak. Granny Lin poked Lin Chukia's forehead bitterly. If it wasn't for you, your grandpa and I would have had to make calculations. Old man, let's move back and stop meddling in our own business, and don't really grow old and lie on the road. No one cares about food. Mother, how can you say that? Don't you still have us? Lin Baohai glared at his youngest son. You heartless little bastard, why don't you explain your thoughts to your grandparents? Lin Chukia smiled flatteringly. Grandpa, Grandma, I'm worried that the uncle's family will not vacate the house in the future, and there will be no place to live when Chuchun gets married. You don't need to worry about my affairs. Lin Chuchun gave him a glare. I will serve as a soldier after the new year, so don't meddle in my affairs anymore. See what you can do. Lin Chukia curled his lips in disdain. If you are capable, don't ask for anything from this family, just give it to me. Lin Chuchun looked at him indifferently. If you can take care of your grandparents and parents well, I don't want anything. Why do you let me raise it alone? Then why do you want all the property? You don't let me do it, I'm following your wish. I'm too lazy to talk to you. Lin Chuchun got up and went back to his room. Lin Chukia chased after him unwillingly, and continued to argue with him. First marriage then love. Mr. Mayor, please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan Nuan. Chapter 406. The second watch arrives. Only Old Man Lin and Mrs. Lin were left in the room, and Mrs. Lin moved closer to Old Man Lin, and asked in a low voice, Old man, Baohai has such a good temper, so we may not be able to fulfill our wish. If Baojiang, if you don't vacate a house for us, what should we do? You still want to go back to that house? Old Man Lin glanced at Mrs. Lin. It's not like you don't know Zheng San Qiao's temperament. If we really can't move when we're too old, can we have a good life living there? Then. Mrs. Lin's eyes were full of doubts. Then what should I do when we get married in early spring and early autumn? Hey, Old Man Lin sighed heavily. Our lives are coming to an end. It's time to make plans for ourselves, he said, smacking his chin in the direction of the cabinet. Take it out. Mrs. Lin opened the cabinet, digging for a long time, and took out a broken bag, which was uncovered layer by layer, until the innermost part. 3 pairs of gold bracelets, 2 pairs of gold earrings, and 2 gold rings were exposed. Putting it on and taking it off one by one, Mrs. Lin looked satisfied. Every time she took out this bag and put on all the accessories on her body, it was the happiest moment for her. Fortunately, the ancestors of the Lin family were poor. During the iron and steel smelting, a historical event in 1958, many people's gold, silver, copper, and iron were searched and put into the furnace. They deliberately took some things from the family, and they didn't even search. Search, Otherwise, her happiness should have stopped abruptly. When the old lady was putting the burdens one by one, old man Lin ordered, "Take out half and give it to Beohai's daughter-in-law." Ah, the old lady was stunned. "Didn't you say that you will save it for your granddaughter-in-law when you get married in early spring and early autumn? What are you in a hurry now? Besides, you are in the limelight right now. If Beohai finds out, why not manage? Do you want someone to take good care of you when you get old?" Old man Lin took a puff on his cigarette. A little lonely said, "Don't count on Chuchun. You can't count on Chukyu either. My child, it's great when you don't grow up." Mrs. Lin understood that if she really waited until the day when she was too old to move to please her young daughter-in-law, she might not be able to get the good things even if she gave them away. The one who hurts the most is Chuchu, the little grandson, but what he said today is chilling, and the horoscope has not been written yet. Just thinking about driving them out. Lin Beohai and Yang Ihua, who were called over, saw the things the old lady brought out. Their eyes straightened in shock. "Mother, when did you hide?" Lin Beohai stammered and asked. "It was never put together," the old lady said with some pride. "After the couple's baggage was brought back, just in case, I separated the things into several parts." She sighed distressedly. "If I knew it, I would put the big cabinet the inside is also opened separately, this matter. It must be your sister and the second child who said it, otherwise, how would he know that his parents' belongings were placed in the cabinet? It hurt her for nothing to eat inside and outside. In the future, if she asks to come to the house for anything, don't worry about it, she doesn't regard this house as her own. You don't have to treat her like a sister." Lin Beohai and his wife quickly looked at each other. What the old lady meant. There are still a lot of belongings left by the couple at home, that is. "Mom, you can keep this thing, I can't wear it. What are you doing for me?" Yang Ihua pushed the thing back, and said sincerely, "We are the ones who love you the most. How can we take away the rare thing from mother? Take it away. It's for you, you take it." The old lady pushed the thing back, trying not to keep her eyes from looking up. "You too keep it, and when you get married in the early spring and early autumn, you will give it to the one who is filial. In this way, you can handle it well, and let them honor you well in the future. Your father and I are buried up to the neck, so don't worry about it. I still have a little here, which is our foundation for the elderly. In the future, whoever takes care of the two of us will give it to him." "Thank you, father, thank you, mother," Yang Ihua quickly thanked. The husband and wife went back to their own room. Yang Ihua lowered his voice and asked her husband, "Do you think what our mother said is true? It's just that she still has a lot of precious things in her hands." Lin Beohai curled his lips. "Probably not much, she just wants us to take good care of her. Please take care of them in the future, no matter how many there are, they can't fall into the hands of Big Brother anyway." "Okay." After hesitating, Yang Ihua looked at her husband. "Since you were young, your parents have always loved you the most, right?" "Of course." Lin Beohai looked proud. "I am the most competitive. Who do they love if they don't love me? They love you the most, and you always plan on them like this. If you have a good opportunity in the future, will you leave me alone?" Yang Ihua asked what she wanted to ask the most. "What are you thinking about?" Lin Beohai glared at her. "My son is going to marry a wife, don't you think there is something wrong with your mind?" Yang Ihua stared blankly at the few pieces of gold in his hand, eyes full of bewilderment. "I hope you can remember what you said. I will keep this thing. If one day you really do it, I'm sorry about my business so don't think about anything." "Crazy," Lin Beohai snorted coldly, took off his clothes and got into bed, and ignored his quietly tearful wife. Yang Ihua looked at the things in her hands over and over again. The hesitation in her eyes became more and more intense. She and Lin Beohai can be regarded as a matchmaker introduction, but also a free love, because the two were classmates from elementary school to junior high school. When they were in school, they had a vague affection for each other. Later, it was Lin Baohai who asked the old man and old lady to find a matchmaker to go to her house to propose a marriage. Of course, she agreed and became Lin Baohai's daughter-in-law 3 months later. Later, she was pregnant again, but when she was 2 months old, she had a conflict with Lin Baohai, she was pushed by the other party, and the child disappeared. Since then, there has been no movement in her stomach. In fact, she really wanted a daughter. All these years, whenever she thought of the child who was pushed away, her heart ached to death. Naturally, she felt more resentment towards Lin Baohai. People are like this, as long as there is a gap and a crack, it is really impossible to go back to the past. Even if Lin Baohai apologized to her later and cared for her carefully, it was difficult for her to truly feel relieved. And these days, she has seen all the schemes of the old man and the old lady and her husband against the second brother's family. The old man and the old lady know that the second brother is not relative, but Lin Baohai doesn't know. Although Lin Baohai's feelings for his second brother cannot be compared with his feelings for her, it can fully show that the only thing Lin Baohai loves most is himself. The personalities of the two children are completely opposite. She didn't dare to think about what she would be like when she was old one day. The more she thought about it, the more confused she became. Early in the morning, when Chu Chun came back and said that Lin Baohai and Zhao Yulan had gone to the cemetery, and when the old man and lady got off the kong to put on their shoes, Yang Ihua finally made up his mind. It is conceivable what the graves that have not been visited for more than 30 years will look like. There is a thick layer of weeds, but the graves are almost flat. Remembering that every year when I came to the grave, I had to walk in front of this grave, but never stopped to help add a handful of soil, Lin Baohai's tears could not stop flowing down. Zhao Yulan was also in a bad mood. The couple silently cleared the weeds on the grave with their bare hands. After pulling them out bit by bit, there was only a small mound of soil about 2 feet above the ground level. "Father, Mother, my son is not filial, and I only found out today that you are buried here. You and the elders can rest assured, my son will not leave you alone and left alone in the future. Your daughter-in-law, Yulan, has a good temper and is kind to her son. Your granddaughter, Shuxia, is a sensible and uplifting child, and she is already married. If I hadn't asked for leave too urgently, I would have come to see you, father and mother. I will definitely bring her to kowtow to your second elder during the Chinese New Year. If parents are alive, please bless Juxia to find their relatives as soon as possible, so that parents can also return to their roots, but even if you can't find them, you still have a son." Listening to his babbling, Zhao Yulan also knelt on one side, adding soil while babbling, telling the old couple some things about these years. Just when the mound was about to be piled up, old man Lin and Mrs. Lin came, and without looking at it, the old couple thumped and knelt down in front of the grave. The old lady began to cry like a play. "Brother and sister-in-law, please forgive us, we are not ungrateful for not visiting you, we are afraid that others will know that Baohai is not our own. I am narrow-minded, and I was afraid that he would not get close to us if he knew it was not our own. I originally thought about telling him the truth when he married a wife. However, when it was time to marry a wife, we couldn't say anything. As a result, the more it was delayed, the more we couldn't say it. Later, we thought, why don't we say it, let him treat us as our own parents, and live on. Don't worry about it either. How can I think about it, the child will know when the time comes. Big brother and sister-in-law, this child has misunderstood us deeply, saying that we don't love him. You said that he was raised with shit and urine, how can it not hurt? You two lost your life to save our child, how can we treat him badly? But the 4 children in the family are all different in size. If you see it in your eyes and feel it in your heart, isn't it different? He married a wife, and we gave him half of the old house. His wife gave birth to a child because I didn't want to serve the confinement child. The younger daughter-in-law gave birth to twins. I really couldn't care less. If they gave birth to twins and Beohai's daughter-in-law gave birth to a son-in-law, I would serve them and not Beohai's wife. I was really frightened by his battle yesterday. I didn't explain anything, and let him go in a daze. Today, Lao Lintu and I think more and more things are wrong, so we are here, and we will tell you the truth too. Big brother and sister-in-law, you two should decide for us. Lin Beohi and Zhao Yulan stared dumbfounded at the crying Mrs. Lin, who was heartbroken, and the old man Lin who was choking and trembling. What is this?